Welcome, 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 my friends. We're going to try to do our best with this one. Bear with me, my friends. We're doing half on notes, half in my head, so we'll see what happens. We're going to try to take a little bit more of a confident approach in today's podcast, so wish me luck. Good morning, my friends. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to another episode of Silly Girls, Silly Thoughts. I'm your host, Mindful Body with Rachel B. It's me. We're in May. I feel like April definitely came in, burped, and left. So happy May, everybody. Happy almost summer. Happy college summer. I like to coin that term for all my college clients and all my college listeners. I like to say college summer starts in May because between now and maybe, mid-June, enjoy yourself. Go to the beach without any high schoolers around. Take yourself out for breakfast. Do everything you wanted to do as a high school senior. And I'm honestly saying you're going to find so much peace. As much as I love my little high school teeny beanies and I love sharing my beach with families and friends, sometimes I just want to be by myself. I mean, after a long ass semester, a long ass school year, a long ass work year, I need at least 4 hours silence. Me, a book, some Texas caviar, and a bag of chips. That's my plan. Simple girl summer. If you know, you know. But I think a lot of us look forward to the sense of summer, and a lot of us are talking about what we're looking forward to and our plans to be outside more. And I get it. Nobody's really a fan of winter. The few of us who are, I mean, it's cozy sweaters. It's being all cozy inside. It's binge watching some shows. And if you couldn't tell by the title, guess what show I've been watching? I've been watching Sex and the City, obviously. I think they just celebrated 25 years old. Damn. And I'm only 29, so this came out when I was 4. Correct? Correct. We're doing math early in the morning. But a lot of us know what Sex and the City is. A lot of us know the show. A lot of us know the main characters. A lot of us know those big moments that happen. But rewatching this show as an adult, as a woman, and as a marriage and family therapist, I love talking about sex. I think it's so important. I've been writing about sexual education since I was an undergrad, between the material that's so necessary, the impact it has when you're not sharing the appropriate information for the appropriate age, if we had to be honest. I know it's a touchy topic for some, but everyone's going to do it at some point, in some way, in some fashion. And if we're not talking about it, ignorance isn't key. And ignorance can lead to some unsafe things. So having this show, Sex and the City, come out in 1998 and these early 2000s, this wave of feminism, this sense of empowerment in your sexuality, but it's also talking about the different stages of sexuality and not what you identify as, but just those milestones between learning about yourself, pursuing people in order to understand what kind of partner you want or what you can complement to, and then also the expectations behind sex and growing up and lifestyle milestones. Like, these are such big things that are happening and continue to happen, and we all continue experience, but we all don't always talk about it, so it always feels scary. This unknown, even though it's so known. And it feels so silly to talk about sometimes as a therapist myself, because even though I do this almost every day for work, I'm almost talking about sex every day. And I think, again, my silly thought, pointing out the obvious, not gonna lie, but sex sells, but we don't talk about sex. I've said that a million times on my personal social media. We've seen it in every stupid catalog, every billboard, every magazine. Like, sex sells, but we don't talk about sex. And the hypocrisy behind that American culture and American mindset is so ridiculous. Again, I'm not sitting here pushing my ideology. I'm not trying to sit here and be like, you need to talk about everything I'm saying today. But it's just saying, hey, can you walk away with at least an open mind to say, this situation we need to talk about to avoid making a bigger mess, in order to help build confidence in that person, that teen, that kid, even yourself. If you're an adult and you're still not finding confidence within your person, within your attachment, within your sexual experiences. That's so normal, but then why aren't you taking a step forward on educating yourself, on talking about it in order to feel more confident? I had to do it. My clients have to do it. People have to do it. We're doing half notes, half off the top of my head. So bear with me. We'll see how this goes. But as I try to test my own confidence, I don't think we really had progressive sexual education. Starting off strong. I don't think we ever will. But sometimes, if you're lucky, you'll come across this show during some wave of feminism with a sassy taboo take on sex. What everyone's doing, but is everyone really doing it? It makes you say, hey girl, just put on a pair of low-rise jeans, grab a scrunchie, and take on the city. Or is it just another TV drama? Where are those fine lines between a show, fictional, and what can really happen day-to-day life, like the average person? Again, I just finished watching Sex and the City, and as a sex fan myself, personally and professionally, again, I've been writing about this and the importance of sexual education since I was an undergrad. I'm a marriage and family therapist. I talk relationships, attachment, and sex almost every day. But it's everywhere in our life. On billboards, on our phones, that weird DM that slides in. Hey, we should hang out and chat. It's a business at the end of the day, I guess. My experience with sex ed, because no one actually teaches boundaries or normalizes the awkward sides of sex, was just to be scared straight. I think I laugh. We had sexual education from a public school my senior year. I think already people figured out what sex was, but showing photos to scare us straight about STIs, excuse me, and then a Jennifer Lopez movie about DV, trigger warning, that didn't help. Where were the conversations? Where was the, hey, this is how talk about consent. This is how you talk about relationships. This is what happens when people cross your boundaries. No one talks about that. No, here's a picture of an STD. Here's how you put a condom on a banana. And let's watch a Jennifer Lopez movie about how she runs away from a person. That, great. Obviously did us well. We didn't learn about communication. We didn't learn about having a relationship with your own body, let alone trying to have a relationship with anybody else and their body, or what to learn in situations when you want to avoid feeling uncomfortable. There was something about HBO that really captured what highs and lows can show up in your 20s. And I think the show ends where the characters are about 40, 50 years old. And Sex and the City definitely lacks some points. Just, it's me because I love to be critical about TV shows and movies, but they definitely lack diversity. And I think that we can blame that just on the time of the early 2000s. We had Friends, we had Seinfeld. It was just very black and white. But it's okay. I was raised on Soul Train and Reba, so we're just acknowledging some changes and some differences. I think the few things I saw in Sex and the City that I didn't enjoy was when certain races were fetishized. I think there was only like one or two characters that were brought in that weren't white. And just, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I'm just like, why are they so much prettier? And maybe I'm answering my own question, but I'm like, it just feels not kosher. But besides the point, if I know Sex and the City tried to do a reboot that was a little bit more quote unquote woke, and even then it kind of missed the mark, which I think a lot of shows are doing, obviously, trying to be more representational, trying to be more open-minded, but some people are doing it well. Shout out to My Big Fat Greek Wedding, movie 3. Some of us are doing it a little bit louder, and it's just needs work. It needs work. So even as these shows start to reboot and they're trying to right their wrongs, so to say, um, again, that's just me. 90s, 2000s definitely had its black and white moment, definitely had its separation in terms of media, and few moments where it would connect, but I think what I liked about the early on episodes seeing these women date were that they normalized fashion, body types were definitely highlighted and normalized, but it could have been a little bit more mm, diverse, even if they brought in different types of characters who had different types of jobs. These are four women in their 20s who have great careers. No shame on that. They live in great apartments. No shame on that. And they're dating guys within the 10 to 20 year, I don't know, age gap. Do all of us do that? I don't think so. I'm, again, 29. I live in my partner's home. My career is still on in motion, you could say. There's always room to grow. But I definitely didn't have like the freedom or money that this characters or these characters portray. So, do I see this show applying to everybody? No. Do I see us all finding ourselves in these characters? Not all the time. But I think what I liked so much about the characters is that I can only see four friends all around the same age, four friends experiencing similar things and different, four friends highlighting the different milestones that can show up at different times, but also around the same time. I think that's what's so confusing and so empowering about your 20s into your 30s is that you're not really following a schedule anymore. You're not really following the same routine as everybody else. I almost talk to all my clients and I have to always talk to myself like, once college, no, once high school ends, you have to look at yourself and life like the game of life. There's so many different paths and there's so many different ways. And depending on you as an individual, maybe you have fewer paths than others. Maybe you have more paths. Maybe some are a little bit more forward. Some are a little bit more curved. So even though you could be approaching life with the same short-term or long-term goals as your peers, as your friends, they might just happen at different points because not everything's going to work the same. And if you're forcing it to work out the same, it's probably going to end just the same. And I don't want the same thing as my friends. I love my friends, but we are all different people. We all want different things, and we talk about that. And these women talk about these different things. And I think what I like too is these characters challenge each other on their wants and needs. I'm going to be spoiling some points in the show. You know that for a fact. So since finishing the show and watching the movie and trying my best to push through that reboot, I'm going to stay on the original during the podcast. And we're going to keep it PG, PG-13. This is a public podcast, so keeping it light, keeping it within code. But truly, there are spoilers coming ahead. I don't want to ruin anything by accident. When rewatching the show as an adult, I feel so much better of myself rather than critical of myself because it's hard figuring yourself out. Man, woman, in between, nothing at all. We all feel a little bit lost. Who are you? What do you like? What do you enjoy? How can you find other attachments or relationships that complement that influence you in a positive way, that are going to impact you no matter what? We've all got sucked up into this idea of perfect and expectation, and we've lost awareness of the present moment and appreciate what we've done so far, or challenge that. I mean, again, you are your biggest critic. You're in your body all the time. You're going to nitpick every little thing. You're going to overanalyze. You're going to put pressure on yourself. Maybe you have pressure coming on the outside. Is it pressure that's helping you? Is it pressure that's making it harder to do anything? But I see in myself the pressure of 20s and even like 25. And we're talking like 25. I'm 29 now. So 25 was about 4 years ago. And again, we're still talking about these 4 years ago because I think it changed a lot of us. I don't know if it put a pause in my mindset where now I'm just like, oh my God, where it happened to those few years. Like, I did a lot, but I didn't do enough on another part of my life. I'm not married. I'm still growing in my career. There's this pressure that I put on myself and was definitely emphasized by certain forces, but I think slice of compassion, I like to say. I think it's just become small talk to say, oh my God, when are you gonna get married? Oh my God, when are you gonna have a baby? Oh my God, when are you gonna do this? Oh my God, how are you doing? I hear you. I hear the small talk. I'm happy to have the small talk, but could we talk about the weather, please? Cause bitch, I'm broke. Everyone's too scared to do anything in this life, and everyone's not prepared, but you're not gonna be prepared, so it's It's such a space of you're trying to do so much, but you can only do so much at the same time. And even when you're trying to reach towards one goal and you can't make it, it sucks when people ask about it and you're like, I'm trying. That's your 20s. And it sucks and it blows and it's annoying. But then it's also, because you have to balance it, exciting because you are figuring yourself out and you are working towards your career goals or your personal goals and you are building your attachments when you take risks and go on dates and talk to people and find connections. These are you putting an effort within your control to make little goals happen. And they may not happen right away, and you shouldn't overplan things because I can't even plan a month in advance. I tried to plan out May. It's only May. What day is it? It's only May 8th, and I've already lost track of the month because I can only have so much control. You can only have so much control. My silly thought, I think the four characters represent four different stages in, I think I wrote down womanhood. When really, as I sit here, I'm kind of thinking, is it really four stages of womanhood or is it just four stages of finding yourself or finding out who you are or even settling into what kind of attachments you want? I don't even want to say womanhood to exclude any listeners. I like to always bring in my yoga mindset, the hippie in me. You carry both types of energy, masculine and feminine. Feminine on your left side, masculine on your right. Anytime I think of masculine, I think of the sun. I think of warmth. I think of confidence. I think of dominance. I think of taking initiative. It's that strong force. Where the moon is feminine, yes, there's this comfort, there's this calm, there's this cool, there's this like wrapped up in a blanket nighttime feel, nurtured. But both can have their negatives as well. Like masculine energy can be too warm and too strong where you get burnt. Feminine energy can be very cold and sharp. So there's always that balance as well, good and bad, black and white, masculine, feminine. It just balances and you sit in that gray area. And I see how those show up in each character as well. When you think of the characters, it's Miranda, Carrie, Charlotte, Samantha. When you look at it as a feminine or masculine, I would almost put Carrie and Charlotte into the feminine energy the most. That's where they lean. That submissive, nurture, caretaking, codependent. Again, it's not coming from this negative mindset because hate me if you will. I'm a woman. I don't want to feel dominant every day. I'm dominant in my job. I'm dominant in my business. I'm dominant on this podcast. When I get home, I don't want to think a thought. Brain off. Brain off. Where is my man? Relax. I don't need to take control. I don't need to be the boss. I don't need to step up. I'm home. We're leaning into these different types of energies. So when I say more submissive and caretaking, it's not taking away Charlotte's dominance because that woman is making things happen. She's on top of shit, she's planning shit, she's making it go, but there's still this sense of I'd like someone to compliment me, which I would say is a feminine energy that need to be nurtured, that need to be cared for. I would put Samantha and Miranda in more of that masculine tone. Again, it's not saying that they're completely masculine, but if I look at life as a scale, they're leaning more onto that right side of masculine energy. They're more forward, they're more dominant, and they lean into this in their personalities. They're stronger minded. They're not, I wouldn't say they don't compliment themselves with their partners, but it was definitely something they had challenges with. Remember the episode where Samantha gets the flu? I think even Carrie said this is the first time she really saw Samantha turn into a Charlotte. And her being sick and whining and crying. That was me in January when I was sick. And my poor boyfriend was like, I don't know what to do for you. And I'm like, I feel horrible and I hate being sick because I do everything. It's just me. I'm silly. I love being in control and taking care of things and running the house and taking care of the chores and taking care of my family and being sick and not being able to do anything and having to lay in bed and rot. I can only do that for 24 hours. I'm going to lose my mind. I think at some point we're either all characters in our life or maybe you're just one or two, and I think it changes. If I looked at myself, I I would say I'm a balance between a Charlotte and a Miranda. And it sometimes feels like polar opposites because I want to have that excitement and fantasy as Charlotte, where it's like, oh my God, I can't wait to look forward to thing. Optimistic, fairy tale, love, excitement. I love that. I love talking about love at work. I love talking about love in my own life. But I'm also Miranda. And I don't know if it's just because it leans into my disappointed part. I'm kind of disappointed with how my expectations haven't been met, or I'm disappointed that I was fed. I think a lot of us were. Again, I don't want to come from this negative point, but a lot of us growing up were given these ideas, these things to look forward to, these, if you do A, B, and C, you're going to end up over here. And I'm like, I did everything. I did what you said. Where the hell is it? I don't know. Okay. So that disappointment kind of creeps in, and I feel like Miranda, this glass half empty. So when I see myself going back and forth between, oh my gosh, yay, to, oh, God damn it. I think a lot of us can relate. I think so many of us want to be Samantha. We all want to be Samantha. We all want to be confident in our sexual identity. We all want to feel strong, empowered, desired. We want to feel sexy. And if a lot of us are pearl clutching, oh my God, girl, this is not the podcast for you right now. This is not that episode. Because if you're not leaning into bad bitch mentality at this point in 2024, you're missing out. You are missing out. What a time. What a time to be a bad bitch. Because the music is there. It's always been there, but I feel like it's gotten stronger. Again, I try my best to look at life as a balance. My silly rule, ladies, fashion wise, you're only allowed to show one type of cleavage, top side or under, at any outside event, unless you're at the beach or if it's Halloween or if you're at a good concert. But even Samantha has her own boundaries. Last episode I watched that I can remember is when she met almost like her twin flame, another Samantha. And this woman got under the table at a restaurant. Even Samantha got a little pearl clutchy. Same, same. There's still boundaries within how much empowerment you have in your sexuality and how you present yourself with what you're doing, but like, do it with some grace. Do a little mystery. If there is no mystery or excitement or fear, because excitement and fear can go hand in hand, it's gonna feel very bland. Am I saying common sense, or is this my silly thought? Who knows? Maybe you'll agree with me. As much as we want to be Samantha, I think a lot of us end up being a Carrie. You take that how you will. I'm going to dive into it, but let me let that sit and marinate while I take a sip of my water if I can find it. I'll say it again. I think a lot of us try to be Samantha, but we end up being a Carrie. When we're talking about this character, Carrie, and this pick me phase that shows up for so many of us in our life, and I wish more of us talked about it, because as much as we can sit here and be like, oh my God, they're like such a pick me, like that's so gross. Bitch, I'm sure you were a pick me at some point. If you're not admitting that you're a pick me, you probably are still. And trust me, it doesn't look cute when you're in your 40s or your 50s or your 60s or your 70s. You gotta grow out of the pick me phase. Taking a big breath as I say this. If you don't pick yourself, you're not gonna be able to pick the right partner. Done. There's a difference between putting yourself out there and looking interested and advocating for yourself. Hey, I'm single, like I'm looking, I'm interested in finding someone, I'm really excited to see who I connect with. Done. Not this, oh my God, like you're so cool and you're like so funny. Sweetie, no. Sweetie, no. When you're in high school or middle school or even college, again, I think it's so normal. For myself, I laugh. I've had so many young adults and young teenagers be like, well, I have to find love. I have to find love. My loves, I found love at 27. I found love many numerous times prior to that when I was still learning about love. So when I think of myself in dating, there was such an insecurity for myself because I was just this tall, awkward kid in middle school nobody was dating me because nobody was drinking their milk, so nobody was taller than me, so insecurity won. And then puberty happens and everyone's developing at different stages, so I wasn't the first picked, insecurity too. And then I made some questionable fashion choices in 8th grade because I was too influenced by America's Next Top Model. So insecurity number 3. I wasn't picked. I don't think I was looked at. I don't think anyone had a real crush on me. I don't think anyone liked me. And when you're telling young kids that, girl or boy, or anything in between, because I do not care what you do it safely. Um, we all want to feel desired. We all want to feel picked. We want to be picked for the project. We want to be picked on the team. We want to be picked for prom. We want to be picked. We want to feel special. That's a normal feeling. So when we want to be picked and we're leaning into this pick me phase, I think a lot of us are leaning too far into an expectation of what people think is cute based on, because this is so normal, based on, I don't know, being burned in the past or just observing situations experience. Like I said, I'm so used to people picking the shorter, cuter girl. It doesn't mean that I'm not beautiful, and now I've created this sense of jealousy towards shorter, prettier girls. Like, that's not okay. I don't want to be jealous of these people. I've grown up. I don't need to be jealous of these people. I have someone who picks me and chooses me because I also chose myself. It's so cliche and it's so silly, but it's so necessary. Once I started sitting with myself and acknowledging my own beauty, my own confidence, my own reasons to be picked. I'm a hardworking woman. I'm a hardworking woman. I'm smart. I advocate. I take care. I got some good qualities. And if people couldn't see that, or people took advantage of that, or people just couldn't handle it in the moment, because I have my cons too, like any other human. I know I'm loud. I know I'm a lot. I know I'm very big on my feelings, and that's hard for a lot of people to manage. I get it. So, pretending to be this idea of like girly girl, or my sister, if she ever comes onto this podcast with me, is gonna throw me under the bus. I know damn well. She's like, I don't know why you do this. You always lean into these ideas of who you date. Like, you try to like this type of music, or you try to dress like that, or you try to do this. Like, what do you like? And I'm like, I was still learning. We were all still learning. I think that's where those phase cut talks come in. That emo phase, that, oh my god, what kind of phases did Carrie have? Because I'm not gonna lie, beginning of the show, she was rocking her independent style, being her independent self, being this like wildly untamed horse, but then wanting to be loved and caged at the same time. Even she was unsure about what she wanted. She tried to go country for Ian, and she was living in the bum middle of nowhere. Like, girlie, no. You know damn well you were not meant to be outside in the wild. You were not that type of girl. I don't know why you tried to do that for a man. It's just not gonna work. But it's what we do. And when you finally get sick and tired of pretending to be something that you're not, you did that to yourself. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Who are you doing this for? Are you doing this just to find someone? Are you doing this to please someone else? Are you doing this like behavior for everyone else when you should be doing it for you? I started telling myself, once I got super bored with dating and I was just getting into like the monotonous rut of, oh my god, Rachel, you're so awesome, to a month later being like, why do you talk so much? Like, why can't you change? You know what? Screw it. I don't need to go on these first dates anymore. I'm hitting the same pattern. I'm doing something wrong. It's me. So finally getting into this mindset of, you know what, if I'm begging for people to choose me, not worth it. I'm choosing myself. This is who I am. This is what I like. There's always room to be influenced and adjust. It's necessary when you're building a relationship to make small adjustments called compromise. But I'm not going to completely disregard who I am, what I like, and what I want to do just because someone feels a little uncomfy. I think we can all say that. Feel empowered to be who you are. Don't be an asshole. Don't change what you like, who you are, and what your values are just to benefit somebody else. It never ends up well. It never ends up well. We saw it when Carrie tried to marry Big. Sometimes I see how Big has his own pick me style. I think sometimes I enjoyed how Sex and the City highlighted male perspective here and there and even challenged it. Like, well, what was that? Burger was his name? When sometimes he would challenge Carrie, well, would women think this way? Would men think that? Well, I've experienced this. Well, you've experienced that. Valid. Valid. And there are pick me men out there, and my guys, pick yourself sometimes because we need to have a whole episode on dating rules. I'm working on it, I'm building it because I love this topic. I joked about it for years if I could write about the do's and don'ts and what to say and what not to say. I, the book will be in progress. Podcast coming. Because it just doesn't work. You are still supposed to take a risk with love. You're supposed to take a risk with dating. You're supposed to put yourself out there. You're supposed to represent yourself best you can. Sometimes it feels like a job interview. Sometimes it can be organic. Sometimes you start with the intention of just going in with no expectation, and that's when you're surprised. I like to follow this mantra: I do not chase, I attract. What is meant for me will come to me. And I repeated that in my head for weeks as I got bored with dating. I got bored with people. I just was not happy, and I was doing this to myself. I was putting myself in positions where I was like, Rachel, just walk away. Everyone's scared of being by themselves, but everyone's angry being with someone they don't like. And a lot of us are just settling with people we don't like, and a lot of us are either expecting people to change, but sometimes, girl, if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's a duck. Accept it, take the L, move on. So if I almost came back and looked at the four characters as almost like an average timeline for a lot of us, I think it starts out with Charlotte, Carrie, Samantha, Miranda, and maybe it flip-flops. Maybe some of us end as a Miranda because sometimes I feel like when talking about Miranda, I almost see her as like the face of adulthood. And I want to save this for another episode because I'm kind of dabbling on it for myself. This pessimistic, disappointed, like too realistic to the point where it just sounds like a Debbie Downer. And I feel like that's Miranda. Again, positive side of her, she's this badass working woman. She's making choices in her career. She's showing up as a mom. But I see how her character challenges themselves with their relationships in just in terms of their attachment, that security in themselves. Does Miranda trust herself enough to trust other people around her? She jokingly says how her mom's in Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, whatever, and she's like, that's far enough. But when you see her having to process grief when her mom passes, when you see her build a relationship with Magna, I believe the character's name, her housekeeper, and even the way she cares for her mother-in-law, there's this change in Miranda through the show. This I don't know if it's just Steve's influence of like, hey, you have to think beyond yourself now, which a lot of us can argue that was kind of pressured. This fear of I don't want to be alone, and seeing that fear in other people may have influenced her to settle. I think that's a valid feeling for a lot of us. And it's not saying like, hey, relationships, you settle in, but to a point, there's a sense of acceptance. I accept this person. I accept this lifestyle. This is what I want. This is what I have to adjust to. This is what I need. Whatever concern or reason you're coming from, a lot of us can relate to that character, Miranda. A lot of us are challenged by our partnerships and people who are ready to take that next step, and we might be a little nervous about it. Normal feeling. I think, again, the hard parts about Miranda, and then even seeing it in the reboot, you see her question herself so many times. You see her not really understanding herself so many times and possibly discovering herself later on, which is a normal thing that happens. And it's not talked about enough. It's starting to be. And I love love, and I love how love can be complicated, and I love how love can be chaotic, and I love how love can be peaceful, and I love how love can be growing, and I love how love can be good and bad. When I think of the male characters in Sex and the City, oh, we didn't even highlight Samantha. All right, who do we cover? Carrie's pick me. Miranda's Miranda's your pessimistic disappointment. Charlotte. All right, recapping. bringing ourselves back because again, we're doing half on notes, half through my silly head, and this is my silly head. So if I bring it all together, Carrie's your pick me phase, Miranda's your pessimistic disappointment phase, possibly growth stage. Growth stage. Charlotte is your expectation. Charlotte is, I want to get married, I want to have kids, I want to have family, and highlighting her story, pursuing this expectation, and then not being happy with that expectation and even being disappointed in herself, challenging her own self, challenging her self worth, challenging her sense of value, her womanhood. She's not able to have a baby. She struggles with that throughout the show. We see this. It's now talked about more, and I see it in myself as I'm 29 and so many of my peers and my friends are trying to start their families, growing their continuing family and so forth, but it's still not talked about. The challenges of being pregnant or getting pregnant, the challenges of trying to find someone to start a family with, the challenges of extended family because we saw Charlotte embracing her mother-in-law that first wedding. Ooh, ooh. But when Charlotte comes to this space of acceptance, and even when she pursues Harry, what a man, what a gem, what a guy. I freaking love Harry. He, in my mind, is such a beautiful, gentle man who just showing this feminine side of masculinity that so many men have and that so many men we need to embrace because you see that value in that partnership, that nurturing side from both ends. Charlotte takes care of Harry. Harry takes care of Charlotte. It's one hand washes the other. It's showing up for each other when one is person is low. Like it's just a beautiful relationship and I love them so much. And I think my favorite part, I told my boyfriend it's something he said to me, or it's the vibe he's given me in situations where when Charlotte receives this dog from just a woman in the park, someone she's met, and she's just smiling and she turns over to Harry, and Harry's like, if you can, we can do anything you want if you smile like that. Anything that brings you this smile, this happiness, like, let's do it. And I don't know, I highlight that in so much, I highlight that in so many relationships and so many moments for people because it's so, maybe it's just my silly thought, my experience, it's so attractive to see your partner smile. It's so attractive to see them embrace their interests, their hobbies, their successes. Like, I love it. I love seeing people lean into what they love. I love seeing my friends lean into, again, their strengths, their interests, their hobbies. It's so fun to see people smile. It's so fun to see people shine bright. Why wouldn't I want my people that I care about, that I love, to shine bright? Why wouldn't they not want me to shine bright? I want us all to be shining so bright. We look like that little sunshine with sunglasses. So cheesy, but that is so much love. That is so much patience. That's so much motivation because even as they go onto this pregnancy journey, there's still this support and motivation from both sides. There's moments where they both get exhausted, moments they both get frustrated, moments they both get upset. And when one's feeling down, the other one steps up. I love it. I'm so happy for Charlotte, and I wish all of us to have a Charlotte moment, to have a Charlotte and Harry relationship, because we all deserve that. We all deserve partnerships where we contribute and there's something back. Samantha. Samantha, Samantha, Samantha. We all want to be Samantha. I think a lot of us look up to her because she's the dominance in femininity, this empowerment, this ownership of your autonomy, this I can do whatever a man can do. I think that was such a big moment. I still roll my eyes. It's such a big moment. How old am I? Almost 30 years later? Anything you can do, I can do better. I can do anything a boy can. How does a girl run? How does a boy run? Like, it's such black and white. And here's Samantha running the show like a man, quote unquote, like a man. That was such a big topic, and I still remember movies like Hitched or Think Like a Man or Why'd I Get Married? Like, these were such great movies that was the battle of the sexes, but Samantha still had this sense of balance, still this sense of I'm this dominant figure in spaces, but I allow myself to be submissive in other spaces based on her gut instinct and what she felt comfortable with and her boundaries, and she would just say how it is. Even though there are moments the girls would come together for breakfast, lunch, drinks, whatever, and just talk, Samantha was very confident in herself. I think that's what we want for ourselves. We want to know who we are to the T. We want to be able to speak our mind and feel confident enough to speak our mind and our boundaries. And I think a lot of us want to pursue what we want, which again, this is where I see Samantha and Miranda as relatable. And maybe the other girls as well. We all want to feel good in what we're doing. We all want to feel taken care of in what we're doing. We all want to feel a sense of control, but a sense of letting go. There is a balance to it. And again, Samantha has her moments where she can act like Charlotte, and there's moments where I don't think she really acts like Carrie, but there's things that she acts like a Miranda. This like doubt because she falls in love and she fights it. That fear, am I not, do you not think you're worth it enough? Do you not think you're valuable enough? Or have you gotten so comfortable and confident, in quotes, confident in that independence that you are so scared of building relationships? Think about that. Let that marinate. Again, there's nothing wrong, there's nothing good, there's nothing bad. I'm just kind of saying it how I'm saying it. I'm trying my best to highlight a balance of it because that's what it is. It's just sex ed in the city. Or in Jersey, if you're tuning in. Shout out. New Jersey. Don't they go to Newark at some point in the show? Everyone's always making fun of Newark. But big thing I didn't highlight about Samantha versus Carrie is that Samantha's a girl's girl. And we throw that term around a lot. Girl code, girl, girlfriends, but like Samantha shows up after she got that chemical peel and it's Carrie's release day of her book. Samantha showed up. Carrie? Carrie's ditching left and right. Oh, I'm sorry, big. Oh, but I'm hanging out with. Oh, I have plans for. Bitch, you are not a girl's girl. And this is where I'm like, honey, the pick me phase can only last so long because if you don't have your friends, and this is where I'm kind of tying the show in together, if you don't have your friends at the end of the day, you got nothing. Who are you sitting with to bitch about life? Who are you sitting with to normalize the highs and lows? Who are you looking for advice, to bounce ideas, to build your own standards, your values, your morals? Like, this is your community. And friends are so important. I love my girlfriends. I love talking smack. I love that we've taken over spaces, public spaces, with just our chitter chatter because if I didn't have these people to talk to, I wouldn't be able to grow in myself. I wouldn't have my reflective questions. I wouldn't learn not only from my mistakes, but feeling comfortable enough to admit my mistakes because we all make mistakes. And if you're not normalizing your mistakes with your friends, they may not be your friends. I always want to keep that space. These girls held each other accountable. The four characters in this show, you saw how they were protective of Carrie. You saw how Charlotte stood up for Carrie. You saw how each of them would advocate for each other. But there were definitely moments where Carrie would forget about the group. And I think that's where a lot of us find that like dislike to Carrie because we either dislike that characteristic in her or we just don't like that part in ourselves. Stop ditching your friends for your partner all the time. I know it's a balance. I think I said to someone a few weeks ago, I kind of look at different attachments as like plates. I have like my career self, my relationship self, my family self, but I only have two hands, so I can only hold two plates at a time. And if I'm focusing so much on my family and my career, my partner gets left alone. If I'm focusing so much on my partner more than my family, then there's always a push from the family. Like, everybody always wants attention, everybody always wants your time, but you are in control of how you spend your time and you have to advocate about that type of boundary. I can only do this, I can do that, I need to prioritize this situation. It's based on your needs. I Carrie asks for so much, but when her friends ask for so little, it almost comes with like, I can, but I will, but girl, where's your loyalty? Because your friends are so loyal to you. Because we've been chatting enough. Do I love Sex in the City? End of the day, yes. It was an amazing show. Again, it highlighted so many points in your 20s with dating, discovering yourself, and even challenging some topics that I think a lot of us need to talk about, but maybe we save it for another episode. They normalized sex. They normalized having sex. They normalized safeties of sex. They normalized bodies, which again, HBO. I think that was just like the time zone. I'm still thinking about like Sopranos because I'm just about done watching that for like the fifth time.